Hello and welcome to our Friday webinar. We are on with Lisa Bono. Welcome, Lisa. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
So we have another theme going on for this webinar. We're talking about hormones, and it's going to be a Q&A of hormones. All about, we're focusing mostly on grays, but also will pertain to other parrots, I'm sure. And so with Lisa, we were just saying that we're going to have a PowerPoint, and then we'll pause, take some questions, and then go from there and see how the webinar pans out. If we have a lot of questions, I think we're going to have a lot of questions. It's because it's like a really hot topic. But while we wait for people to log in to come on with us, so the Oscars are this Sunday, I think, right? Oscars. I wanted to do a poll question, but I didn't have time to put the poll together. So I'm just going to have people raise their hands or type in the chat. So if you were to nominate a bird for lead actor in a dramatic movie, who would that be? Or what bird would that be? And on the verse side, if it was in a comedic role, what bird would that be? So would it be like, just wondering what people would nominate? Grays, Amazons, kikes, conure. So dramatic role. Who we got? Oh, are you putting in your gray? Is that? All right. I think we're gonna have a lot of grays. Is this in the drama? And the Oscar for the drama goes to? Oh, we got an Amazon. That's a good one. Well, Conure, yeah. All right. Ooh, I like the Princess of Wales. I could see a movie along that line, a biography. Amazon for comedy for sure. And then what about is there can you think of a bird that'd be like supporting actor or actress? One who's kind of not always in the spotlight, but's like doesn't 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 own the spotlight in your flock, but likes to be, out and about. All right. Well, yeah, I could totally see a kite for comedy. I know they just using that Congo African gray for support. Do you agree with? All right.
The answers are really cute.
Oh man, that would be adorable to have little Oscar nominations, and then we have like a winner at the end, like a little video sequence of these submissions. So we'll have to do that maybe next Oscars.
Maybe we should consider something like that, having some people send in some videos.
Oh my gosh, for a dramatic piece.
Yes. So if they send them in, we can compile a webinar and have our own
Popcorn
little
YouTube
thing.
berries, this is happening next Oscar season. We're doing this. Brenda, mark the calendar. We're doing it. All right. All right, everybody. I guess yes, cockatoo, drama, and dance. I could totally get that. These are all really good nominations. So all right, keep that thought. Next Oscar season, we're gonna do our own little we should do our Oscar show with yeah, there we go. All right. I guess I think we have everybody. If whoever's logging on now is going to be like seeing the chat and going, what is going on? If you're just joining us, we're doing the hormone Q&A webinar with Lisa Bono. So, all right, Lisa, I'm going to let you take it away. If you have a question that you'd like to submit, please use the Q&A button and not the chat feature. So on that note, I'm going to let you take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back. I missed y'all, and thanks for tuning in. Right off the bat, I know I'm going to get some questions over here as to why Sydney's wearing his little collar. We had a little medical issue the end of last week where we thought we had a prolapse, which I thought was kind of ironic considering the talk the last couple of weeks and this week. But it is not a prolapse. We're not really sure what's going on, but until his next check, he has to wear his little collar of shame. So if you hear somebody talking in the background, it's him trying to get some attention. So far he's doing good, and not to worry, he's used to the collar. So let's start with the webinar. Okay, now wait a minute. On here. Bear with me. I'm gotta move everybody around so I can actually see what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to talk about grays and hormones. I have a very short webinar with some examples, things to look out for, and then we'll go into Q&A. So thank you for all being here. Now, actually, springtime in Africa, where our grays originated from, is going to be September through November. And summer actually starts in December, which coincides with the wet season between October and March. So this means that the birds start looking for mates in September. They usually start breeding in our October, which would be their springtime. They lay the eggs in November. The babies hatch in December. This can be off by a month or so or a couple weeks, depending on when they find their mate. And know that domesticated birds, which most of us are dealing with now, don't seem to quite follow these rules. You're going to see a lot of illustrations from somebody that we lost in the bird world few weeks ago. And this is Jean Pattison, and she has been a wonderful mentor and talking with me all about hormones and breeding and stuff like that through the years, so I can bring it to you. Now, originally, when I was looking for a baby, I thought that, all the babies came in the springtime here. I had lost one of my African grays. He passed away, and I wanted another one. And this just happened to be around December. I went to a whole bunch of, at the time, 20-something years ago, went to all different kinds of stores, contacted a whole bunch of breeders, and everybody told me it wasn't baby season. So I had to wait until spring. I finally did find a bird, and he was born in November, and that's actually Sydney. Emma was born in January, so she's a little bit later, but her parents had two different clutches. Now, when I started talking to Jean and told her that story, she told me actually that would be the prime time for babies, naturally. So she didn't understand why it took me so much time and effort to try to find one. So by us having this webinar now, as we go into our spring, it shows that it's not just seasonal change, again, because they are in September, October, November, that can contribute to our birds becoming hormonal. Parrots' hormones can be triggered by many other factors, such as another parrot being around, being allowed to find a nest, create a nest, give it a nest, and an appropriate bond with its human, touching in ways that we shouldn't, snuggling in the bed, again, that's nesting, having a toy that it's perceived as a mate. Maybe it's a bell, the bird can see its reflection. Most times they end up getting a little overly excited and end up masturbating. And the climate that signifies it's time to have babies, meaning a lot of warm foods, longer days, that would let the bird know that it's baby time. So now as we talk about the season, both spring and the wet season in Africa, daylight increases. So that's where we get into our springtime and them having more babies because they've adapted. The longer hours of sunlight are an important trigger to females who then know that their babies will be hatching in the warm weather, and the wet season signifies more food and things growing for the babies. With an increased daylight, our parrots naturally enter into a hormonal sequence. So hormones, we all have them. We're younger, we have different hormones that we're feeling as we're teenagers, not sure what's going on. And I'm sure a lot of ladies can join in with me as we say we get a little older. There's a lot of hormones we're fighting because we don't understand what's going on and they make us miserable. So everything has hormones. So they coordinate different functions in your body, glands, organs, tissues, make and release hormones, which make up your endocrine system. A lot of people have thyroid issues. They'll understand this because they deal with it all the time. These signals tell your body what to do and how to do it. And hormones are essential for your life and health. Now, this next slide is a nice abstract, the avian reproductive endocrinology. The reason I put it here, you guys can go back and read it. afterwards if you're interested, but domestication has a definite influence on the hormone cycles of some avian species, which may lead to certain reproductive problems. So knowing this, why would we encourage this instead of trying to set the antecedents so we don't have such a hard time? Now, I can tell you I've had, I believe it was 17 cockatiels at one point. They were all in this huge communal cage that I had custom made. And I did have one set that, regardless if they were with the community or if they were separate in a cage, they were the only ones that ever ended up having babies. Now I have 3 girls and 2 boys. I don't know if it's luck. I don't know if it's I'm doing something right. I don't have a lot of raging hormones going on over here. I can't say that every once in a while Sydney's a little more huffy puffy and willing to try to take a bite at me. I can't tell you that Abby decides that she doesn't want to try to get in a drawer that's right below me or in the cabinet next to me, because they will. But we haven't had anything go past there. So we're going to actually stop the webinar here and see if anybody has any kind of questions or something they want to go over.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Oh, so yeah, please use the Q&A button. And all right, here we go. It says, when one of our grays, Congo African grays, hormonal and molting, he wants to be fed warm mashed veggies on a spoon, but this seems to set a precedence and he's very reluctant to eat on his own thereafter. So he wants to be spoon fed. What should you do about this? And they don't want to create, obviously, a permanent problem. That'd be a lot of hand feeding on a spoon. They don't want to provide, we want to give him comfort, but they don't want to set a precedent that this is how he's going to get his veggies. Like, this is my takeaway.
Okay. Usually molting and hormones and baby season really don't go together, because they need a lot more energy when they're growing all these new feathers. So they're not putting that into babies. So in regards to that, you're probably seeing, if he's molting, it takes a lot of time and effort to put into these feathers. Now, the best way I can describe it is they get a little more quiet. A lot of people may automatically think the bird's sick. They tend to be a little bit, I know it's a label, but we all understand it, crabby. And how us girls feel during that time of the month. We're drained, things are going on. So during that, you know, it usually only lasts about 2 or 3 days and they start acting a little bit more like themselves. Then you might want to give him a little bowl of his own and really try to get him to eat on his own, or maybe give him a little bit in a little Dixie cup, like a little foraging thing. The foraging items are really not that good for like the moist stuff, because you can't really, unless you're taking that thing apart, and it's going to take you longer to get it apart and put it together than put food in it. You might want to try something like maybe a Dixie cup or something and have him chew a little bit and shred some of that. But that's completely different to hormone time. Hormone time, you want to be a little bit more hands off. And you want to try to stay away from the warmer foods, because that's encouraging more hormonal behavior. A mate, when they would regurgitate and feed them, it would be warm, it would be moist. So they're going to stay in that mode. So with that, you might want to think about not making it warm, maybe adding some more veggies in there, maybe something else that he likes, to try to switch it up a little bit and get them out of that mode. And at the end, we have kind of a list of some foods to stay away from that will help you in your, endeavor. Oh, you're muted.
sorry, thank you. Kate asks, what do you think about petting their beak do you think petting the beak triggers hormones? What about sleeping in the same room? So they currently sleep on the perch, but they have a sleep cage available. So about petting the beak and about sleeping in the same room.
Okay, when we're working with birds, or when I'm working with somebody who just got a bird in, who they believe maybe and not too fond of hands or nervous, but they're able to touch their feet to step it up, I'll usually start with them maybe not booping, because you don't want to go like this to the bird. They do have a blind spot right here in the immediate front. So what you want to do is maybe I'll tell them to go in and maybe say tickle and just go like this. Okay, very lightly. I think that is going to let the bird know the human's safe. Now, if you're going in and you're doing all this rough housing and playing with the beak, again, that's foreplay. That's what the mate would be doing. Tussling and ruffling their beaks together, and then they start feeding each other. So you want to kind of avoid that. There's just a simple touch as you're getting to know the bird. Eventually, you're going to move up around the head, because that's where they really like it. But if you have a bird that is apprehensive and not wanting to be touched in the ears, or, I'll start right here and then I'll move over to the ears, because the ears are usually the hot spot. So, and what was the other part of the question? Oh, the night
About
sleep cage.
sleeping, yeah. They have a
Well, with grays being in your room, there's a couple things you have to really think about. First off, they are very dusty. It's not the healthiest for you. I'm just being honest. I mean, I was younger, I had parakeets, they slept in my room. My cockatiels slept in my room, because that's where they lived. They lived in my room growing up. I don't think I would do that now with these guys, because they are so dusty, since I have a night cage and I see what comes off of them in the middle of the night. Your doctors would not like that. Also, if you have a mate, there might be some noises you don't want that bird to pick up, which they will, especially a gray. And the bird being on a perch versus in a cage is not really safe either, because what if you have a bad thunderstorm and a limb comes down on your house, or God forbid you have a fire, or you have an earthquake? Your bird is going to take off. It's going to be scared. It's just going to take off. If you don't have electricity, you don't have lights, you're not going to be able to find them. You might step on them. You might have to evacuate without your bird. So it's just a lot easier. If they're in a cage, you know exactly where they are to grab and run. Now, I have multiples. So what I did, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get, I have a kayik as well. There's no way I'm going to get 6 birds in a cage all out at one time. So I actually have little sacks. It's kind of like a pillowcase. And then up around the top, I threaded through corded rope. And this way, if I have to evacuate immediately, I know the corded things are right underneath the pillowcase. I'm going to call it that without having it here in front of me to show you. I have that underneath their cages. I can grab it, put a bird in. I could carry 6 of them out at the same time. Don't know where I'd go after I carried them out, but the immediate threat is getting out of the house. So there's some things to really consider having them in your home.
okay. And I wasn't sure if the question also might have been about having the bird sleep in the same room that it is that it spends most of its day in. Is there a difference in that?
That's perfectly fine. If you have a good setup, if you have the last person out at a decent time and the first person in at a decent time, it's perfectly fine for that bird to be able to stay in that room. If you feel safe and secure. I mean, in my old house, it wasn't optimum, but I had my guys in the dining room because I couldn't get the bird cages upstairs. So I had some in the dining room, and that's where they were day and night. And then I would come home, and whenever I was home, they were out in the trees in the living room.
Okay. We have a question from Jeannie about nuts. So are almonds, walnuts, do those affect hormones? Also, how many nuts are safe to give daily? They have I think it's a 20-year-old Congo African gray. So what's your thoughts on nuts?
I would probably end up cutting the nuts or getting almond slivers or something like that. And this way you can give a piece and feel like you're actually giving more, but you're giving less. I have a story with Emma. She was beautifully feathered. And one morning I uncovered her cage and she had about 20 feathers that were on the ground. I was nervous. I called my vet. They said, we get you in 2 or 3 days from now. I made the appointment the next day. I got up and I'm just gonna rough it, say 80 feathers, 100 feathers. She was completely naked on her chest, her legs, and her belly and her rump. Come to find out, I rushed her to the vet. Come to find out, she was having too much protein in her diet and she was in liver failure. I thought I was doing the right thing. She loved her almonds, she loved her cashews, she loved chickpeas. So, I gave her probably 3 or 4 a day of each, thinking I was doing the right thing. Obviously, I wasn't, because I almost killed her. So I would limit, my guys might get a quarter of an almond. No, excuse me, quarter of a walnut. They'll get 1 almond. They'll get a half to a quarter of a cashew. It's rare they'll get pistachios. Every once in a while, maybe once a week or so, they'll get pine nut, a pine nut, unless they're in their toys. Maybe then they'll get like 3 or 4, and that will be the 1 toy for the week. But I don't suggest giving a lot of that. Will it bring on hormones? I can't answer that in all honesty. Plenty of food might, but not the specific things we're talking about. Ample food, feeding babies, that's what you got to think.
Okay. Let's see. We have another one.
Oh,
Okay. You want to, who is that on the, I'm sorry, to your right, that is very into the webinar right now.
This one? Yeah, that's Sterling.
Sterling is like agree, he's watching. It's really cute.
Yeah, if you watch him, it's probably good to have in the background. If you watch him, you'll probably see him start to go back and forth like this. You can watch his beak, see his beak's moving. Besides talking, he's also playing with like a little bit of spit there that he brought up, because they usually don't have spit. So he is actually, with me being this close, he's being a little hormonal. So he's good to have there, so you can observe his little exaggerated movements that are really slow, and he's dancing for you guys.
Yeah, he's very interested in this topic, I can tell.
Yep.
All right, I have a question from Cindy. So their soon to be 30-year-old Congo African Grey likes to lay next to them and watch TV in the evening, and lays with the head down on the bed so they can lightly scratch her head. Sometimes for absolutely no reason, she lashes out at and bites. And they can't predict when this is going to happen. So what's your take on that? What's going on? What's going on there?
You might be hitting a pin feather. We don't know they're all there. It might be the tiniest little pin feather right on the top of the head. And that may be why she's turning around, because it actually hurt. I would be careful, make sure that she's not underneath your blankets. She's not getting underneath your pillows or nesting like that. I don't personally see anything wrong, because I do it with my Emma, to have them lay down next to you as long as you're scratching her head. But the first movement you see, like this guy over here, starts being exaggerated and the beak and stuff, you can't do it. You can't do it, because that's just, it's inviting the hormones in.
Okay. Let's see if we have another. That's interesting.
Now I could tell you also, I do it with Emma because she has a twisted neck and spine. So for her to put her head down and take the pressure off her neck, I think she enjoys that. I would never do it with Sterling or Abby, because those are the 2 that are the oldest and probably the most interested in passing on their genes.
Is there would there be a difference between male or female? Like if you have them chilling on the bed with you with their head down, with that any noticeable or equal?
I Yeah, I don't think there's really gonna be a difference. I mean, I'll sit on my chaise lounge at night and I'm sitting down, I'm not up. I'll have Sammy or Sydney on here and I'll scratch their head. The minute they start to, bob their head or, again, watch his body language here. As soon as they start doing that, it's time for me to stop and put them back.
Okay. Okay. That's like a stop. It's kind of like turn on the lights with you know, teenagers on the
Yep.
couch. Turn the lights on.
Yep.
I'm going back to. Okay. So now I'm gonna. So do you? We'll go if you don't mind. We can go back to slides so we can get some more
Sure.
questions.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay. So this is actually not my Sam. This is somebody on my board, and I just thought that Sam was adorable, ready to take some notes. So this is actually a drawing that Sally Blanchard did, and we're going to talk a little bit about the zones where is acceptable petting and where you should stay away from. So this on the top of the head is usually a great spot. Now, when I said I tell customers to lightly once or twice touch the beak to get the bird used to, then this is where you want to get up to, is on top where they usually like it. Now, they usually love it right around their ears. They'll tilt their head, they'll close their eye. These are all spots that they can't reach themselves. So they depend on this big scratchy foot to get them, or you can come in there and do it, very lightly. Again, you have to watch body language to make sure they're not liking it too much. And then usually right under the beak, when they start turning their heads and their ears, they usually like it right underneath their beak. But that's really as far as you want to go. If you are touching their wings and their back and their lower chest, this is signifying more what a mate would be doing. If you're going even lower, if you notice I'm going down more towards the rump, this is only what a mate should be doing. We should never be touching in that area. We want to stop the hormones before they start, or at least deter them. Again, we all have hormones. We just want to try to keep them in check. So this is their little zone right here where they really like it. Usually that you'll see if somebody is, posting a video online and they're touching down there, the bird is usually bowing over, and reason being is because that's usually when a mate, they would bend over and pretty much flatten their back. The females will, for the male to jump on top. So you don't want to be down in that zone at all. And then, let's see, did the last one show? Hold on. Yes, there we go. I have a screen that I have to keep moving. And then, of course, down there by the vent, there's no reason to be down there at all. They usually do not like their tails touched. That would probably be somebody like walking around goosing us all the time. We wouldn't like that either. So reproductive behaviors are natural and will happen with a pet parrot, even the solitary ones. Excessive stimulation, like I just showed you on that last picture, that we provide in captivity, and certain diets, artificial lighting, close physical contact with owners can lead to reproductive complications, such as chronic egg laying. Sun conures are notorious for this, also lovebirds and cockatiels. Prolapses. This is something where the best way to explain it is the internal organs come out of the vent, and you need to have a doctor look at that. Oftentimes it usually needs surgery. Both males and females can get it. The females, obviously, from pushing from eggs, are going to get it, more often than a male will. But like I said, I thought Sydney had an issue with that, and that's why I was immediately contacted the vet. Aggression, meaning they can become more territorial. If you have them on the floor, again, I did a whole, I guess it was a webinar or an article for you guys, not having them on the floor. this is what they would be doing in the wild. They'd be looking for a nest. Once they find their little hole, or that little hole in between the pillows or underneath the bed, they're considering that their territory. That's a good spot to make a nest. So they're not going to be that sweet, amazing little bird that, once they're in their nest, they're gonna watch over it because they're looking for their mate. They want to have babies. So that can lead to the inexperienced person trying to pick them up and getting bit. Again, you have to arrange the antecedents so you don't have these issues. If the bird's not on the floor, then he's not going to get behind your TV cabinet. If you move the pillows off your bed, and you have him running around and playing on the bed, which is actually great exercise, but you don't want them getting underneath anything or behind anything. So you take the pillows off. It's very simple little things in the environment to try to deter what's going on. Or, which I found out the hard way with one of my cockatiels, that if they do have a mate in there or they have babies in there, one of my cockatiels was the sweetest little thing. And I went to change something in her cage. It was probably the paper or whatever. And she came running out of, I had a little shoebox. The shoebox did not have a top, but I figured this way she could chew it. She had the eggs. I did not set them up for breeding. They had them in a communal cage. I took them out, figured I'd give them the best opportunity to survive, put them in their own little cage, put a little shoebox, had the top off so I could watch it, lined it with paper towels so I can change it. And I think I went in there to change the bottom of the cage, and she came out, running out, and she grabbed onto my index finger, and her beak went right through my nail. She broke it up underneath the quick. I mean, it was disgusting growing in, and I was manicure, so it was very hard to explain to people I don't have some kind of disease and I don't have fungus. My bird did this to me. So that was because she had her mate in there, she had her babies in there, aggression, she bit me. And what all gray owners fear, it could lead to feather destructive behavior. So you'll have, let me see what the next slide is to see. Okay. You'll have your females are going to, when they're in the mood, a lot of times they'll pluck out the feathers on their legs. That can be a sign of hormones. A lot of times they'll do a little brood patch. Before Abby got sick with her heart condition, she actually had a little brood patch she came with. And now she does chew pretty much, her chest and everything else that's going on with her medical, but that's another spot that they can go after. The males will tend to do up around their neck, like in the Elizabethan collar style. I learned this from having my store, and I would say 98% of my clients had African grays. So when they came in, we were always chatting. And September going into October, my clients would come in, they're like, oh, my bird started picking all up around the neck. I don't know what to do. And my first response is always vet. Go to your vet. Okay. So I'd send them to the vets that were in our area that were board certified and have all their tests done. So, that's not a cheap thing when they're doing all the blood work. And they would all come back that everything was fine. And then you would have the second and the third and the fourth person coming in and saying the same exact thing, same time of year. And then I noticed with my own boys at home started to do it. So I started taking notes each year of who is coming in, who is saying it. And I linked it all together with the time of year and the boys with the feather plucking around the neck. So, and again, I didn't do case studies on it or anything. It was just me keeping notes year after year with noting this. Now, the females, here we have Benji, and I know it's hard to see. I didn't put a lot of videos in here that had audio because in the past, I've had issues with that. So I just got a picture of Benji. She's actually doing her little chicken scratch. And she's digging and chewing a little bit more. You can see by that toy. This is another thing you're going to see. Wood, especially with females. I noticed that with Abby. When she's in her mood, she destroys every piece of wood there is to be found. And most times she'll chew a time or two, but she'll leave it there. So that's another cue for me that Abby is, a little hormonal going into that. Now, one thing you have to worry about is if you're not heeding all these what, Sterling, all these signs of being hormonal or encouraging it, like you see with so many people online, you can have a lot of different issues that you're going to face. And none of them are going to be pleasant. A lot of them are going to be very costly. And it's not cute to keep your bird in a constant state of being hormonal. So egg binding can happen in the females. Another excellent reason to know whether you're gray or any bird really that you can't physically sex to have DNA, have your vet do it. Okay. Because with Sydney, when he had something hanging out of his vent, I know he's a boy. That's, it's not going to be an egg problem. So we knew right off the bat to roll that out. So it's important to know. So if you have a female egg binding, these are all the different things that could have been on the list we would have to check if I didn't know Sydney was a male. So you have your first time egg laying could cause issues. Chronic egg laying, again, with your cockatiels, your sun conures, your lovebirds. That's chronic egg laying. Somebody is hunting outside. I just heard a gunshot. Abnormality of the egg. Sometimes they can be broken or they can be misshapen. Disorders of the reproductive tract. You can have due to a nutritionally unbalanced diet, improper laying environment. If it's too hot, it's not humid enough. You can have other issues as well. Now, this is, I actually had this issue with Sterling. So in males, if they get active hormonally and you keep them there, they can get enlarged testes. And Sterling actually had to go to the vet for this, and he was not using his leg. I did not know why. He was limp in one leg, and I thought maybe he had a stroke or something. So in the car up to the vet we went. His x-rays showed that his testes were enlarged and they were pushing on the nerve in his leg. So that's, I learned kind of the hard way. As soon as he starts any kind of his, hormonal dance or acting that way, we kind of set him down, mainly on his tree. I don't put him in their cage to, signify they're doing something wrong, because they're not. They're not doing something wrong. So he goes on his tree and I let him calm down. Right, Sterling. So then you have reproductive diseases of pet birds. This is by Dr. Hops, Texas A&M. Well, no, Texas Avian and Exotic Hospital. Okay, I thought he was at Texas A&M also. So these are some of the problems of reproductive diseases of pet birds. So again, if you are promoting this, not heeding the warnings, you can have a lot of different issues going on. So another thing to keep an eye out for, when they start, breeding or in this mood, hold on, I have to move things around, I'm sorry. They start eating a lot more. That's because the food is plentiful, like it would be in the springtime with the wet season, everything growing, more food, great time to have babies. The feathers will often take on a sweeter smell. I have a lot of people come and say, oh, they have a dusty smell, or obviously with all the dust coming off, sometimes they'll say they smell like baby powder. there's all kinds of weird groups on Facebook about smelling and sniffing your bird. But the birds usually, the grays usually take on a sweet smell. They get kind of broody, more loving hens, you know, the females. Abby will get like that when she's feeling a little funky. She will want to lean into my chest. She'll want her tickles. I do nothing more than scratch her on the head, because we don't want to put her into anything else. The hens will drink a lot more water. So of course the poops will be bigger and water. So more than what you notice in the morning, because everybody knows they have great big poops in the morning. So it'll splatter more because it have more water in it. And it kind of happens more throughout the day as well. They become more destructive with chewing, obviously trying to make a nest. And the males can get protective, and actually they can become vicious when feeding. Now this came from Jean. She was a breeder for, I can't tell you how many decades, but this is what she shared with me, so I could share with you. So this is, this looks like a bottom of a cabinet in someone's kitchen. They have a female gray who kind of has run of the house, and this is what they came home to. So the bird was starting to try to make a nest, obviously chewing wood, female, trying to make a great little spot there. And I think she was probably attracted to it because the foot part of the cabinets looks darker, so it might have indicated more of like a darker nest cavity she can get into, then realize she could chew it instead. So here we have Kai, and Kai's owner calls this the droops. And these are classic signs for a little boy who is starting to get hormonal. Actually, he's pretty hormonal in this picture, both shots. Sydney, come here. Come here. We can't do that. Come here. Come on. Good boy. You have to be quiet. So this is very typical. If you see that, make sure that you put him down somewhere. Try not to encourage it, because the next thing he's going to start swiping his tail. So those are, and then what's funny is look up here at the hyacinth. He's looking at this bird like, what is going on down there? So here we have Dusty. And a lot of females, what they'll do is if they find a round object, a lot of times they'll end up trying to sit on it. I think that's probably an orange. And she's got that look in her eye. You can see that she's bowed down. Her feathers are up and her back is flat. So you can tell she has something going on in her mind. Then you have Zippy. Same thing. Zippy's a boy, and his wings are down. So, and his mouth is open. So he's making the little huffing noise that we're all familiar with. And then we have Morgan, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear this because we've been working on trying how to get the video and audio together. So turn your volume up because it's just barely any kind of noise going on here. And listen to Morgan. I'll play it twice. So this is a very hormonal little girl. Sadly, she passed away. I don't remember quite what from, but here we go. So hopefully you heard that. So you can see her wings are down, her back is flat, and she's making little grunting noises with her wings held away from her rump. So the owner wasn't encouraging this. The owner was just taking a video. But that is typical hormone behavior. I've seen both my boys and my girls do that. Here we have Nova. Nova looks a little agitated. I asked for hormonal pictures, or settings, so I'm not sure what was going on here with Nova, but he looks like he's trying to protect something. He has that, test me look in his face. Then we have to go into nesting, and people end up, unfortunately, giving boxes. I've seen it a lot. And while, yes, it's cute and they do love chewing, I've seen box condos, I've seen everything you can imagine. And this is 100%, yes, it's keeping your bird busy. That's great. But it's promoting nesting. So, up in the left-hand corner, you have this advertisement for whatever that thing is. It's a cat thing, and they're putting a bird in there. And I mean, obviously that's an ad. That's, not a real picture, but still in all, that's not what you want to promote. This is like giving them a heart-shaped bed and saying, don't do anything. So if you have your cardboard boxes or your things that you want them to chew, put it on a skewer, cut it up in little squares, cut it up flat, do whatever you want. Just don't give them the access to get inside. So here we have Yipsy, and this is actually one of the toys I sent. Again, so you got your cardboard. There's lots of pre-made toys out there that have your cardboard. You can make your own, but that's the proper way for a bird to be able to play with cardboard. Now we're going to talk quickly about the high energy foods and pellets that you want to avoid. So if you're having hormones, we're going into that season. We could talk about pretty much everything here. You have your potatoes, your bread, your rice, your pastas, they're starches, and they're not a lot of nutrition to them. They're warm, they're moist. Stay away from that. Okay. I don't feed potato at all. I don't feed bread. Rice may come in some of their cookables. Pasta may come in some of their cookables, but I'm not going to go out and look for it. I'll use a sweet potato, but instead of, mashing it all up, I'll just cook it and cut it in slices and let them have at it. So you have your corn, your peas. I know from talking to nutritional doctors in the past, corn and peas are very high in sugar as well as carrots. So this is giving them more energy. The beans, legumes, and that's going to be giving them more protein. This is all going to lead into optimum times to have babies, optimum food, bulking up. You got your pumpkin seeds. I don't know exactly why they're on there, but fruits as well, all sugars. So you want to kind of stay away from that. And there's pellets out there. There's several different brands that I know that are specifically high energy, high potency, high, what's the other one called? They actually have breeding formulas. Stay away from that kind of stuff during breeding season. Usually stuff like that, I'll say, if you have a bird that's ill or having babies, that's great, but not for your regular everyday diet. So how long do hormonal behavior last in parrots? Well, it really depends on you. We talked about September, October, November, December. That's really the time from searching for mates to mating to guarding the nest to having the babies and raising babies into January. And then they pretty much go back to survival mode. They do what they got to do. They fly, they do, everything else but babies. So for them to be in our homes and for us to carry them around and constantly hold them in spots that they shouldn't be, letting them go into places they shouldn't be, always giving them that warm, soft mush, that is all going to prolong this time and keep them in a constant state, which could lead again to more plucking, all the different things that we talked about with the diseases, the issues, the chronic egg laying, enlarged testes. So you want to try to curtail all this, and the longer you foster and provide the environment for the behavior, the longer it will be a problem in your home. Usually the typical hormone period is going to be 3 months, usually from finish to start. In closing, we can manipulate the husbandry to minimize the hormones and reproductive drive. This is done by managing their environment, nutrition, social interactions with family members. And remember, nothing is written in stone. There are many different directions that can be taken to reach the same goals. So what exactly may work for me, you may have to implement a different way, or you might have to find a different way and share it with me so I could share it with other people. And this webinar is dedicated to Jean. I love the quote that she says, if you can't hear them with your ears, then listen with your heart. She gave me permission to use all her artwork anytime that I needed, and I figured this was a great way to honor such a great woman. Thank you.
Aw, thank you, Lisa. What I remember about Jean is she always had the fabulous hair, the African gray
Yes.
color with the red in the back as well, like the
Yep.
she's
It would be funny because I'd be out and everybody's like, "Oh, you know so much. You love your grays. You're the queen." I'm like, "No, I'm not. That'd be Jean." So
I mean, yeah, quite a character and African gray, just true and true. All right, we have a question from Kate. They're working on teaching their Timneh African gray to allow body inspection for health and injury check. It's a good idea. It's going slow currently on the pickup and have not been able to pick up. What is your feedback? So basically, like to be able to open the wings, palpitate the keel, and check the legs, etc. Do you have any suggestions?
they have to be really comfortable with you to allow that. I can do it with my guys. Again, I'm not going to do it with Sterling or Abby. I know my limitations and I know that they're not going to do that. I would start probably a little bit at a time. If you're going to do that, when you're tickling, maybe go in and check the ear and say, "Oh, let me see the ear," or "Let me see underneath your beak," or like I can get Emma, and I just got to find out where she is and I could show you. Hey, sweetie. Hey, sweet baby. Let's go. You're so good. You're so good. Okay. So Emma, we have a little routine.
They're trying to pick up. How do you pick up? They're trying to pick up body from the back. Except from the.
Wait, say that again.
I'm just reading it. It says how do you pick up? They're trying to pick up body from back.
You mean like this?
I am not sure.
They'll have to elaborate a little bit better. No bird is gonna like this. Okay. Usually what I do with Emma, come on, sweetie. She'll lay upside down. So I can go in here. Let me see if I can do. Can I see your ears? My goodness, look at that ear. Can I see your eyes? See your eyes. Oh, you want to look? Okay. And then she'll let me look underneath her wings. She's usually very docile and doesn't care. So I do this every night to make sure there's nothing going on. I could check underneath her beak. She doesn't think anything different. Check the bottoms of her feet to make sure there's nothing going on there. So I would suggest that you do it slowly. You probably only want to go like this. Again, you don't want to go in with your hand on top. That's what a mate would do. So if you go in and look like that, there's not a lot of reasons to look underneath the wing. Probably what you want to do is, maybe check the vent. That's how I found out with Sydney. Check the little ears by, letting her know what you're doing. Check the nose. So I can do this with pretty much all of them, except for Sterling and Abby. That's not happening. And again, she's on my arm, not my shoulder, and I'm not moving. Right? Good girl.
Okay. And how long did it take for you to be able to handle like that? Was it a workout, like a slow going, or
well,
like
she started
from like you get a bird and it's like step up, like from that to that. How long does that, how much?
Well, Emma, because of her neck and spine, she would lay upside down a lot. And when the first time I uncovered her and she was upside down, I thought she was dead. I had a heart attack. Come to talk out to her breeder that she felt more comfortable like that cleaning because she can get underneath both wings. So she would always roll over. The other ones learned from watching her. Because I would say something, I'd say, okay, go back. And let me see if I get Sterling to do it. That's how we started. Hold on. Sterling, you're a little tight in here. Go on. Come here. Ready, come here. You want to go back? Ready? Want to go back? Show everybody back. Come on, go back. Go back. Oh, good boy. So we just started doing this with Sterling. Ready? Good boy. Want to do it again? Want to go back? Want to go back? So that's a good boy. Yeah, Sydney, we're not doing it with you with your collar.
Yeah, so
So,
point out that not all birds will allow you to do that. That's
correct. So he learned from watching Emma. I can't take credit for teaching Emma how to do that. She came like that.
okay.
So
And some bird species might be more inclined to be on like kikes and conures, like they
correct. Yeah. So a lot of times if your bird is sitting there, or if your bird is, you're sitting down in a chair and you have the bird on your shoulder, that's probably when you'd want to do the ears when they're most relaxed, or when they're on their hand. Like I said, look underneath the vent. You might be able to manipulate the toes a little bit to look, look in the ears, the eyes. That's pretty much what the normal person's going to be able to do with their bird. So.
Okay. We have a question from Jeannie. So not necessarily about hormones, but they wanted to know, can inexperienced bird owner train their Congo African Grey that's 20 years old to fly, or do they need experienced parrot specialist or an experienced owner to, I guess, fly, to teach them how to fly, like free fly?
You can be guided by somebody that came before you. If she wants to reach out to me, that's perfectly fine. I'll work through it. Yes, they can be taught how to fly. Sterling, probably, he chewed his wing feathers. He's been in our family since about 1982. And right up until probably 2 or 3 years ago, he chewed his wing feathers, only on one side. So he wasn't able to fly. He let him grow in, again, I think by watching everybody else here, and he flies all over. So they're open-ended learners, so he can learn. It's just, you start with baby steps, maybe just walking a little faster, holding on to his little toe as you're going, and then doing shorter, jumps, maybe onto a soft landing onto your bed. You just got to make sure that they have their, all their wings in, so you're not tossing them somewhere, because that's never going to work. So, but he can learn.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine you want a soft landing at first, maybe because of the keel bone, right?
Right. And again, perfect spot, put a sheet down on your bed, go in there, after you've done you start with your quick walking to maybe, I ran around the house here with them, on my hands, and, then take them into the room and say, do you want, start with like maybe a foot, you want to go, and see if he, takes that, put him down, pick him up, say, you want to go, stuff like that.
Okay.
So you're able to do it.
All right. Well, that was that's a good one to end on. It's kind of the starting point of good health with the flying too, right? That's
Yes.
There you go. Thank you. That's oh, just real quick. So we're all, well, in some areas we're going to be we're spring forwarding on the weekend, right? Any effect at all should anyone be like taking any steps today? Any recommendations, or just let it like naturally, like how we would? What do you do when you're about to spring forward with your flock? Do you do anything different?
No, I never did. I think I was just so excited to spring forward that, I had an extra hour. I never really noticed any different with any of my guys. Again, my guys aren't overly hormonal, so you might see, that come into play, but, no, I'm just happy not to have the artificial lighting on for so long.
There you
So,
go. Longer daylight hours in the evening there.
right.
All right. Okay, I gotta announce today's giveaway winner. We do have a giveaway of some garden veggie NutriBerries, and that is going to go out to Jeff Levine. Congratulations! You also can get another Lafeber product of your bird's choice. So congratulations, Jeff. And Brenda is reminding me that so next Friday we're going to be on with Dr. Stephanie Lamb, and she's going to also continue the topic of hormones, and it's going to be about the hormones made me do it. That's the topic for next Friday. But it's also boy, I forgot about thank you for reminding me. Very special that it's going to be Arroyo, Arroyo, her Amazon that's usually in all the webinars. It's his 10th birthday, so we're having a little party for him. So don't tell Arroyo that, but it's going to be a surprise party. So we'll have some special stuff going on next Friday. You don't want to miss that. So yeah, we're going to have a surprise birthday party for Arroyo next Friday. I think we have some special stuff going out. So yeah, you gotta join us. Gotta join the party. You all get an invite. This is officially passing out the birthday invitations for Arroyos. We have some special giveaways. So what better way to spend a birthday party for so the extra special giveaways next Friday. So you got to be there to get them. So join us and bring your birthday wishes with you. We'll sing them happy birthday. All right, guys. On that note, oh, and I'm sure sorry, someone did remember Oriel's birthday last year. And I think there was a special cake involved, and I'm pretty certain we're gonna have a special cake for Royal this year too. So 10 years, that's a big anniversary, a big birthday. So all right. Is Sterling saying? Is that Sterling?
Yeah, that's Sterling. Yeah, Sterling, you good boy. What'd he say?
You're invited too, Sterling. You have to you can come to the birthday.
There you go. What'd he say? Nothing today? Okay. Usually he says see you later.
Aw. All right. All right. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you again, Lisa. Excellent
You're
presentation, as always. And hope to see everyone next Friday for our special birthday celebration and giveaway for Arroyo. So, all right, guys. Until then, all the best to you and your flock. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. Bye.